Welcome back in final part 3 of L'Oreal. Anyways, let's continue. L'Oreal has conceded that its founder, Eugene Schuller, was a Nazi sympathizer and anti-Semitic fascist.
He was also a member of the KGAL, which supported the Vichy regime and was a violent, pro-fascist and anti-communist organization.
Eugene bankrolled the KGAL and some meetings of the KGAL were held at L'Oreal headquarters.
Some of the criminal activities perpetrated by the KGAL include firearms transportation, assassinating a former minister, and firebombing 6 synagogues.
Schuller provided financial support and held meetings for the KGAL at L'Oreal headquarters.
The KGAL was a violent French fascist-leaning and anti-communist group, whose leader formed a political party Mouvement Social Revolutionnaire. MSR, Social Revolutionary Movement, which in occupied France supported the Vichy collaboration with the Germans.
L'Oreal hired several members of the group as executives after World War II, such as Jacques Therese, who served as CEO of the United States operation. Other controversy arose when Gene Friedman, a shareholder and board member of TerrorVision, a film subsidiary of L'Oreal, was fired.
He claims that he was let go because L'Oreal wanted to avoid an Arab boycott of businesses associated with Jews.
In turn, Friedman decided to expose the past of L'Oreal executives.
André de Tencourt, who married Schuller's daughter, Lillian de Tencourt, and became deputy chairman for L'Oreal, wrote 60 articles for La Terre Francaise, an anti-Semitic Nazi propaganda sheet.
André has admitted ownership of the propaganda but claimed he was poisoned by the Vichy regime and said, "I have repeatedly expressed my regrets concerning them in public and will always beg the Jewish community to forgive me for them."
André de Tencourt also sheltered Schuller and several collaborators from the French resistance after liberation.
It was also revealed that Eugene Schuller hired Jacques Therese, who was the honorary head of L'Oreal's U.S. affiliate, Cosmere, and was involved with the KGAL. Further controversy arose when it was revealed that L'Oreal had its German headquarters for over 30 years before being sold in 1991 on land confiscated from a Jewish family during World War II.
The Jewish family has been battling for restitution from the company for 3 generations, the latest of which is Edith Rosenfelder, a Holocaust survivor.
Fritz Rosenfelder was forced to sell the house to a Nazi official, of which the family never received the proceeds of the sale.
Instead, the family was deported.
The Allies passed Jewish restitution legislation, which states that transactions with Nazis, even if appearing to be with the owner's consent, can be considered invalid.
As the land was sold to an offshoot of L'Oreal, which was later bought out in 1961 by L'Oreal, the company claims that it is not responsible for anything that happened before then.
The basis for Rosenfelder's argument is that since the original sale was illegal, all subsequent sales are equally unlawful.
There was restitution paid in 1951 to the Jewish Restitution Successor Organization, though this was done without the family's consent and none of the money ever reached the family.
A book by Monica Waitsfelder, daughter of Edith Rosenfelder, published in French as L'Oreal Plus Ma Maison and in English as L'Oreal Stole My House, details how L'Oreal took over the Waitsfelder home in the German city of Karlsruhe after the Nazis had engineered the removal of the family to make it its German headquarters.
Monica Waitsfelder is quoted as saying, All the other businesses which took Jewish property have since returned it, without any great debate. I don't understand why L'Oreal should be any different from the others.
A case was brought before the Supreme Court in France, but the public prosecutor ruled that there could be no trial.
As of 2007, she is bringing the case to the European Court of Human Rights.
On 31 July 2014, during Operation Protective Edge, launched by the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, in the Gaza Strip, the Israel advocacy organization Stand With Us posted several Facebook photos of care packages, which they said were donated by Garnier Israel to female IDF soldiers.
This sparked several calls to boycott Garnier and L'Oreal worldwide.
Garnier disavowed the giveaway and stated on their Facebook page, Garnier USA is aware of recent activity in social media. It is very important to us that our fans know that Garnier Worldwide promotes peace and harmony and has a strict policy of not getting involved in any conflict or political matter. Garnier was astonished to discover this in social media. After investigation, the handout of about 500 products appeared to be part of a one-time local retailer initiative. Garnier disapproves of this initiative, managed strictly at local level, and is very sorry to have offended some of its fans. L'Oreal began in vitro tissue testing in 1979 and does not test any of its products or ingredients on animals anywhere in the world since 1989, 14 years before it was required by regulation.
Controversy came from the fact that L'Oreal sells products in China whose regulators conduct animal testing on cosmetics to be sold within its territory.
Even though a ban on animal testing in China came into effect in January 2020, Chinese authorities still perform this practice for imported ordinary cosmetics. Following L'Oreal's 2006 purchase of The Body Shop, which does not support animal testing, The Body Shop's founder Anita Roddick was forced to defend herself against allegations of abandoning her principles over L'Oreal's involvement on animal testing.
Calls were made for shoppers to boycott The Body Shop.
L'Oreal sold The Body Shop to Brazilian group Natura Cosméticos in 2017. On 11 August 2005, the Supreme Court of California ruled that former L'Oreal sales manager Alice Janowitz had adequately pleaded a cause of action for retaliatory termination under the California Fair Employment and Housing Act and remanded the case for trial.
The case arose out of a 1997 incident in which Jack Wiswall, then the general manager for designer fragrances, allegedly told Janowitz to fire a dark-skinned sales associate despite the associate's good performance.
When Janowitz refused, Wiswall pointed to a sexy, blonde-haired woman and said, "God damn it, get me one that looks like that."
Wiswall retired as president of the luxury products division of L'Oreal USA at the end of 2006.
The company faced discrimination lawsuits in France related to the hiring of stratege models and institutional racism.
In 2007, the Garnier division and an external employment agency were fined €30,000 for recruitment practices that intentionally excluded women of color from promoting its hair wash, Fructus style.
L'Oreal continues to sell skin whitening products, which have been criticized as capitalizing on women's insecurities due to colorism.
They advertise these controversial products, which have been criticized for promoting a colonial attitude as well as having safety concerns on their website by claiming achieve clear, translucent and radiant skin. Our skin whitening products work to fade dark spots and brighten skin to give you the fair, flawless complexion you desire.
In May 2007, L'Oreal was one of several cosmetic manufacturers, along with Clinique, Estee Lauder, TaBNWNE, ordered by the Therapeutic Goods Administration in Australia to withdraw advertising regarding the wrinkle removal capabilities of their products. In the UK, L'Oreal has faced criticism from Ofcom regarding the truth of their advertising and marketing campaigns concerning the product performance of one of their mascara brands.
In July 2007, the British Advertising Standards Authority attacked L'Oreal for a television advert on its telescopic mascara featuring Penelope Cruz, stating, "It will make your eyelashes 60% longer."
In fact, it only made the lashes look 60% bigger by separating and thickening at the roots and by thickening the tips of the lashes.
They also failed to state that the model was wearing false eyelashes.
In July 2011, the British Advertising Standards Authority took action against L'Oreal, banning 2 airbrushed Lancome advertisements in the UK featuring actress Julia Roberts and supermodel Christy Turlington.
The agency issued the ban after British politician Joe Swinson argued that the two ads misrepresented reality and added to the self-image problem amongst females in the UK.
L'Oreal acknowledged that the photos had been airbrushed but argued that the two cosmetic products could actually produce the results depicted in the ads and that the results of the products had been scientifically proven. In June 2014, the company reached an agreement with the U.S. Federal Trade Commission not to make claims about its anti-aging products unless it had credible scientific evidence supporting the claims.
The settlement followed an investigation by the Commission into claims being made in relation to two products, which the Commission described as false and unsubstantiated.
L'Oreal has a team of 400 members of staff who post content to Facebook every day, according to Mark Meneskin, the company's chief marketing officer. In July 2017, the University of Massachusetts Medical filed a patent lawsuit against L'Oreal.
In August 2017, Dennis Warzikowski and his company, Carmel Laboratories LLC, joined the lawsuit.
The two parties claimed that L'Oreal's brands used UMS, patented technology for skin creams with a chemical adenosine.
In 2021, a judge found the patents invalid.
In 2022, the U.S. Appeals Court reversed the decision, stating that UMS could continue to pursue its lawsuit. L'Oreal was fined by Auto Right de la Concurrence in France in 2016 for price fixing on personal hygiene products. In August 2017, L'Oreal dismissed Monroe Bergdorf, a mixed-race transgender model, after she responded to the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, by stating in a Facebook post, "Honestly, I don't have the energy to talk about the racial violence of white people anymore. Yes, all white people." The post was also quoted as saying that white people's existence, privilege, and success as a race is built on the backs, blood, and death of people of color. Racism isn't learned, it's inherited and passed down through privilege. And that white people ought to begin to admit that their race is the most violent and oppressive force of nature on earth.
Shortly after terminating Bergdorf, L'Oreal released a statement claiming their commitment to support diversity and tolerance towards all people irrespective of their race, background, gender, and religion, and had terminated their partnership with Bergdorf because her comments were at odds with those values.
Monroe Bergdorf is a British model who came to public attention in August 2017 when she was employed as the first transgender model to front a L'Oreal campaign in the United Kingdom.
Bergdorf attracted further public attention following an article in the Daily Mail highlighting Facebook comments that she, a mixed-race trans woman of white English and black Jamaican heritage, had made about white people.
These comments, which included the claim that all white people were guilty of racial violence and that the white race was the most violent and oppressive force of nature on Earth, generated accusations that she was racist against white people.
In response to her comments, L'Oreal fired her from its campaign on Facebook, removed her posts from their website, regarding them as being in contravention to its rules against hate speech.
Bergdorf said he also faced online harassment, much of it of a racist and transphobic nature. Other commentators argued that the Daily Mail had quoted her out of context, and that her wider point about white supremacy and white privilege in Western societies was valid and needed wider dissemination.
Claiming this to be the case, the Damasco beauty brand employed her to front its campaign, and her supporters followed her suggestion to promote a boycott of L'Oreal.
At the time of the controversy, Bergdorf was aged 29 and living in London.
She grew up in Stansted Mount Fitchett, Essex, into a middle-class family.
Mixed race, she was born the child of a white English mother and an Afro-Jamaican father.
She described growing up as a very effeminate boy and attending an all-boys school before studying English at the University of Brighton.
At this point, she started wearing makeup and heels. She later described herself as having been genderqueer in that period of her life.
While in Brighton, she later noted, "I went completely nuts. It was like an internal bomb had gone off and I did everything at once. Crazy hair, crazy clothes, reckless behavior and sex. I was living my teens in my early 20s.
After university, Bergdorf worked for 3 years in fashion PR.
At the age of 24, she decided to undergo transition treatment. Her experience transitioning was the subject of an episode of London Lived television show Drag Queens of London.
She described experiencing prejudice as a result of being transgender, stating that, "I get abuse every day. I've had my dress lifted up, I've been groped, yelled at. I've heard people I thought were friends referring to me as Sheme or it. I've been walking down the street and pushed into parked cars."
She claimed she was raped during this period and the perpetrator was never apprehended, an event which inspired her to take a greater role in social activism. "It wasn't just standing up for rights that were my own, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, anything I saw that I didn't think was right, I would protest or post."
She subsequently posted about issues like racism and transphobia on social media outlets like Facebook on a regular basis. Around the same time that she was transitioning, she established a club night called Pussy Palace.
She got involved in modeling, stating that she was inspired by the lack of representation of trans women of color in the industry. "I definitely set out to empower girls like me."
Her first modeling job was for a Lebanese couture company.
In 2014, the London Evening Standard referred to her as a cornerstone of London's trans scene.
She told the newspaper that she was so vocal on trans issues because she sees it as the new frontier, an issue being brought into public consciousness through the work of trans women like Laverne Cox and Carmen Carrera. In August 2017, Bergdorf was announced as one of 27 models taking part in L'Oreal UK's True Match campaign.
This was the first time that the company's UK branch had employed an openly transgender model to front one of its campaigns.
On her social media, she declared, "Thank you L'Oreal Paris for giving me this platform. I hope it reaches another little 8-year-old trans girl and makes her feel a little more hopeful and a little less scared about her future than what was installed in me when I was her age. On 31 August, the Daily Mail published an article highlighting comments that Bergdorf had made on a Facebook post, describing it as an extraordinary rant.
In this post written in the wake of the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Bergdorf had stated, "Honestly, I don't have energy to talk about the racial violence of white people anymore. Yes, all white people."
Her post was also quoted as saying that, once white people begin to admit that their race is the most violent and oppressive force of nature on Earth, then we can talk.
The Daily Mail's revelation went viral, being picked up by international news agencies including the New York Times and Al Jazeera.
Various people accused Bergdorf of being racist toward whites. Others believed that she raised awareness about white privilege and societal racism. On 1 September, L'Oreal sacked Bergdorf.
They issued a statement that the company supports diversity and tolerance towards all people irrespective of their race, background, gender, and religion, and that Bergdorf's comments about white people were at odds with those values.
Facebook also removed Bergdorf's original post from their website for breaching their policies on hate speech.
In the wake of the controversy, Bergdorf described receiving threats of assault, rape, and death.
Many comments contained racist, homophobic, and transphobic sentiment. Among the comments posted to her social media were statements like, "F*** you, stupid, dirty, and smelly n***."
Whoa. Tom, watch your language. Anyways, she later related that as a result of this backlash she did not leave her home for several days, describing it as the worst week of her life. And by the way, Tom, that word you said, the N-word, is not okay. It's extremely disrespectful and racist. You can't say things like that, ever. You'd better watch your language, mate.
I'm really so sorry. I didn't realize how bad it was.
It's really bad, Tom. You need to apologize and learn why that word hurts people.
I understand. I didn't mean to say it.
Anyways, sorry about what Tom said a moment ago. I'm really sorry, viewers. What you just heard was absolutely unacceptable. We don't tolerate that kind of language here.
Anyways, let's move on to the next one. Publicly replying to L'Oreal's action, Bergdorf stated, "Just know that in tearing me down, you are proving everything that I said to be true."
She accused the company of trying to cash in on consumers with darker skin tones using rhetoric about equality and diversity, while at the same time refusing to work towards dismantling the original source of discrimination and division in Western society.
She called on people to boycott the brand, and her supporters tweeted the hashtag boycott L'Oreal.
In solidarity with Bergdorf, the BBC Radio 1 DJ Clara Info, who was also part of L'Oreal's campaign, stood down from it.
Bergdorf added that the Daily Mail had taken her comments out of context, revealing that when she had originally made the statement, "All white people are racist," she was referring to the fact that Western society as a whole is a system rooted in white supremacy, designed to benefit, prioritize, and protect white people before anyone of any other race.
She also stated that she found it puzzling why many regarded her views as out of touch or extreme.
Honestly, I don't have energy to talk about the racial violence of white people anymore. Yes, all white people. Because most of y'all don't even realize or refuse to acknowledge that your existence, privilege and success as a race is built on the backs, blood and death of people of color. Your entire existence is drenched in racism. From microaggressions to terrorism, you guys built the blueprint for this. Come see me when you realize that racism isn't learned, it's inherited and consciously or unconsciously passed down through privilege. Once white people begin to admit that their race is the most violent and oppressive force of nature on Earth, then we can talk. Until then, stay acting, shocked about how the world continues to stay f***ing at the hands of your ancestors and your heads that remain buried in the sand with hands over your ears. Bergdorf's Facebook post.
Following her dismissal, Bergdorf appeared on morning television show Good Morning Britain on 4 September.
There, she argued with a host Piers Morgan, who disagreed with a number of her views.
He claimed to be offended by Bergdorf's suggestion that he, as a white man, was racist or sexist.
She followed this with an appearance on the television show Victoria Derbyshire.
There, she stated that L'Oreal should not have sacked her and that it was ironic that they dropped her while retaining Cheryl Cole on the same campaign, given that the latter had been actively convicted for punching a black woman, the nightclub toilet attendant Sophie M. Agba, in 2003.
Cole's representative issued a statement declaring that her employer was disappointed at being introduced into the controversy, adding that Cole had been unanimously acquitted of having any racial motivations in the 2003 incident.
Writing in an op-ed for the newspaper, India Willoughby stated that, although as a fellow trans woman she sympathized with Bergdorf in many ways, she did not believe that simply being a member of a minority gave Bergdorf free rein, sick, to insult a large percentage of the population.
Criticizing Bergdorf for presenting herself as a martyr, Willoughby further chastised the Right-On Brigade for, predictably, presenting the model as the victim of the situation while not leaping to the defense of the many decent and innocent people Monroe attacked.
Writing for the Irish Times, Laura Kennedy stated that while Bergdorf should be free to express her no doubt well-intended but very divisive and bigoted opinion, L'Oreal should have every right to end its association with her as a result of her statements.
Kennedy expressed support for some of Bergdorf's views, such as the need for wider acknowledgement of colonialism, but critiqued what she regarded as the increasingly popular but very shaky postmodernist and intersectional theory upon which Bergdorf's arguments relied.
Kennedy argued that this form of identity politics classifies whole swaths of varied individuals into groups and negates the role of intergroup diversity, individuality, and agency. She believed that it encouraged individuals to make sweeping judgments about people by categorizing them as part of my group or external to it.
In turn, she noted that it closely mirrored the logic used by white supremacists and identitarians.
In an op-ed written for The Independent, Odemir Dubadia argued that the controversy surrounding Bergdorf's comments was part of a long media tradition of painting anti-racism activists, and particularly black women, as irrational anti-white furies, comparing it to the controversy that erupted the previous month following Jason Osamedakande's statement that all white people are racist.
Dubadia added that in sacking Bergdorf, L'Oreal was contributing to the silencing of anti-racism activists by ramping up the consequences for those speaking out against racism towards people of color.
The commentator Yasmin Olympe Graham argued that there was a trend among the British right wing to defend free speech for white men but not for individuals of other backgrounds.
As evidence, she contrasted the way that Bergdorf's comment was received on social media with the way that the politician Jacob Rees-Mogg and conversion therapist Mike Davidson, both white men, had been publicly received after making controversial comments during that same month.
Olivier Graham stated that in the UK, there was a situation whereby freedom of speech is now a right reserved for white tops and homophobes, bigots and sexists, populists and supremacists. The rest of us must watch what we say, or else.
Left-wing commentator Owen Jones concurred in an article in the Irish Times. He stated that the right-wing Free Speech Brigade did not proclaim Bergdorf was entitled to her opinion in the same way that it had done for Davidson and other right-wing men.
Writing for the New Statesman, Charlie Brinker's-Cuff argued that L'Oreal was so blinded by gaining profit that it did not bother to conduct research into the people it employed in the first place.
Brinker's-Cuff also argued that had the company's staff read Bergdorf's social media posts before hiring her, then they would be well aware of her views.
In an interview for The Guardian, Bergdorf stated that L'Oreal were aware that she was an activist when they hired her, and argued that being an activist means calling people out, not just saying what everyone else is saying and what everyone else wants to think and upholding the common consensus.
She insisted that people should avoid what she described as dictionary definitions of racism, because they were written a very long time ago and not by a person of color. Instead, she argued that people should use the word racism only for a whole system upholding the social dominance of white people over people of color through societal phenomena such as white privilege.
Nashi Mitchell, who interviewed Bergdorf for The Guardian, suggested that there were many problems facing Bergdorf's desire to promote anti-racist ideas initially generated among academic circles across the wider population.
As Iqbal noted, not everyone reads Frantz Fanon and Patricia Hill Collins for kicks. Academic theory will only go so far in convincing the average person on an average street that institutionalized systemic racism is just as damaging as a violent, racist attack.
Later in September, a rival beauty product brand, the UK-based Remastered, hired Bergdorf as the face of its Beauty Spotlight campaign, which focuses on gender fluidity.
In a statement, the company described Bergdorf as embodying diversity and individuality. She is not scared to be truly herself.
It added that it did not stand or accept any form of racism, but we also believe Monroe's comments have been edited out of context by a certain media title who we won't bother naming without telling a true story.
Bergdorf had also worked for Remastered on a previous occasion.
Also in September, Bergdorf gave a verbal performance of Maya Angelou's poem, Still I Rise, for a short film directed by Beth Evans and Laura Kerwan-Ashman.
That same month, the script writer Gareth Roberts referenced Bergdorf in a tweet stating, "I love how trannies choose names like Monroe, Paris, and Chelsea. It's never Julie or Bev, is it?"
His tweet received headline attention in Britain.
Monroe hit back at Roberts on Instagram, stating, "Excuse me for not choosing Bev as a name. Do I look like a Bev?"
Several days later, she entered a Twitter argument with Morgan.
She suggested that it was incongruous that he had not been sacked despite making many controversial statements, and yet, somehow a black trans woman calling out racist behavior is a sackable offense.
He replied that her LGBT status had nothing to do with her losing her job with L'Oreal, and rather that she had been fired for calling all white people violent racists, a sacking which he agreed with.
After Bergdorf then retweeted Lily Allen's statement, #BlockPiersMorgan, he responded, "Please do, you insufferable creature."
In December, Bergdorf reappeared on Good Morning Britain as a guest alongside the Black writer and broadcaster Edward Adu, invited to discuss Twitter's newly introduced restrictions on material displaying hateful conduct.
Bergdorf supported Twitter's move, and in the interview repeatedly used the word
Whoa! Ben, watch your language. Adu expressed the view that it was inappropriate to use the term so regularly on breakfast time television, with co-presenters Morgan and Susanna Reid requesting that Bergdorf cease using it. In turn, she stated that Morgan's attempt to get her to stop was itself highly racist.
"Whoa!" On Twitter, many users criticized Bergdorf's use of nigger. Some stated that they found it offensive, others criticized the perceived double standard in which Bergdorf insisted on her right to use the term, but expressed condemnation of white people doing so.
Ben, again, watch your language. Although acknowledging that to do so on morning television may raise some eyebrows, after the interview Bergdorf defended her use of stating that she did so for a reason. I wanted to highlight that the outrage of a black woman saying it around white people is often met with more outrage than the fact that black women in the media are barraged with this word by some white social media users.
Tom, now also you better watch your goddamn language. If I am to heard this same language one more time, then we are going to start a fight. Do you freaking understand?
What are you even talking about? You said it too. Don't act like you're innocent.
Alright, both of you, cut it out now. This is nonsense. Stop this bullcrap fighting over racist slurs. Tom, and especially you, Ben. If anyone says that word one more time on my set, I'm shutting this video down. Do you freaking understand?
You're right. I got heated instead of stepping in properly. I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to be that cruel. I'll apologize on camera.
Well, good. At least you apologized on the camera and the way you acting, so I'm forgiving you, both. But I'm going to give you a warning. And if I hear this same language racist word like N-word one more time, I swear to God, I'm shutting this video down. You guys understand?
I understand.
I understand.
Good. Now let's just move on to the next topic.
In June 2020, during the international George Floyd protests, Bergdorf criticized L'Oreal Paris for posting on Instagram that they stood in solidarity with the black community, saying that she had never received an apology from L'Oreal.
In response, the company announced that they would create and appoint Bergdorf to a UK Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Board.
Bergdorf shared on Instagram a number of abusive messages she received on that platform following her appointment. In 2018, L'Oreal Paris hired Amber Heard as a global ambassador, also giving a special tribute to her.
In 2020, after a tape leaked of Heard admitting to having hit her ex-husband Johnny Depp, several petitions were filed requesting L'Oreal to fire her.
As of June 2021, L'Oreal continued to include Heard among a team of ambassadors that also includes Kate Winslet, Jane Fonda, Elle Fanning, and French singer-songwriter Isil.
Heard was being sued in a defamation trial by Depp in which he accused her of domestic abuse.
She was found to have defamed her ex-husband with malice on June 2, 2022, by a jury heard and appealed her case. In May 2024, the BBC World Service documentary titled Perfume's Dark Secret uncovered widespread child labor in Egypt's jasmine fields, an essential source for fragrances used by major beauty brands, including L'Oreal.
The investigation exposed that children, some as young as 5 years old, were engaged in the physically demanding task of picking jasmine flowers.
These children worked under grueling conditions, often beginning their shifts at 3 a.m. and working in high temperatures.
The documentary highlighted the poverty these children faced, with some earning as little as $1 per day, far below a living wage.
The BBC's findings sparked global concern over labor practices in the perfume industry, particularly regarding the exploitation of children in rural areas of Egypt.
The country's jasmine flowers are a key ingredient in high-end perfumes, produced by companies like L'Oreal, leading to questions about the ethical sourcing of raw materials in the beauty and fragrance sector.
Despite claims by L'Oreal and other luxury brands of strict monitoring systems, the documentary suggested that these children had been overlooked by current auditing processes and that insufficient measures were in place to protect workers from exploitation. L'Oreal has been in a 3-year trademark dispute with a small British hair removal aftercare company called NKD on the grounds that its name might cause customer confusion with a L'Oreal Naked line of eyeshadow palettes and other makeup products.
The NKD name was created in 2009, 1 year before the launch of the Naked line in the UK.
According to Rebecca Dowd as well, the owner of NKD, the two brand names are spelt and pronounced differently, so I've always been pronounced NKD, they've always been naked.
Dowd as well's trademark for NKD expired in 2019, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic she forgot to renew it until 2022, a failure for which she readily admits responsibility.
To date, NKD has spent over £30,000 on legal fees and has had to shut down one of its 2 salons in its struggle with a £170 billion company. That's it for this episode today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to smash a like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos as it happens, and see you next time.